Hello friends, welcome to another series of Ansible on my YouTube channel. I hope you all are doing great and staying safe and taking care of yourself. In today's video, we are going to basically talk about water handlers, how to use them in our day-to-day stuff, why we need handlers first of all. At the same time, we are going to basically talk about usage of variables in our playbook and how to register those variables into the playbook. At the same time, I'm going to walk you through with a real scenario of how to handle the handlers in our day-to-day activities. So without any delay, let's get started. So friends, let's together learn what is handler in Ansible. In nutshell, handlers are special tasks that only get executed when triggered via notify directive. So how are handlers executed? By notify directive. Handlers are executed at the end of play once all tasks are finished. I will help you to get this understand through a simple example in my next upcoming slide. Why we need handlers? Handlers are typically used to start, reload, restart, and stop services. So, we will understand the meaning of this in our upcoming slide, where I'm going to help you to understand the handlers with an example. Now, moving to the next slide, which talks about the a pictorial way how handlers are being called or how handlers help us to execute our day-to-day stuff. Suppose there is a scenario where you want on node 1, node 2, node 3, and node 4 to install your packages. And once those packages are installed, then they should get restarted. In short, I want to restart the Mimkaz service, Systat service, or an Apache service on my all nodes once the latest version of those packages are installed. And how can we do that? Using Ansible handlers. So moving to the next slide, where I'm going to basically explain you how I have made a use of handler in my playbook. So here is a playbook where I want to install the nginx package, the Apache service, the Mimcache, and the Systat service on my machine, which is node 1, node 2, node 3, and node 4. So in the first block, you see that I'm installing the latest nginx package, and in the next task, I'm installing Mimcache. In the Mimcache, you see there is something called as a state, which is the latest version. And after that, I'm calling a notified directive. Remember what we discussed? That means this playbook is having somewhere handler declare, and we are calling that handler once we have the latest package installed on our remote host. So in this task, I'm basically calling a handler called as restart mimcache service. And what I have declared in that handler, to get restarted whenever the new Mimcache package is installed. That's how the handlers are called. Remember one thing to focus here: the name of the handler should be the same, or the notified directory where you're calling a handler should match with the name of handler you have declared. So in this case, I have made sure that restart Mimcache service is the name of my handler. That's how the Ansible will recognize that there is something handler declare with this name, and then it will execute the service module to restart that service. I hope you got an gist of how handlers are declared in the playbook and how they have called. Moving to the next important slide is the variables. Like other technology in which we use variables, like be it C plus, um, be it C++, Unix, Perl, Python, we all know why we need handlers. The same is the usage of handlers in our Ansible playbooks, because it provides us the flexibility, right? So handlers provide the much needed flexibility in playbooks, templates, and inventories. Like shell scripting or like Perl or Python, we have the built-in variables in Ansible too, and those built-in variables help us to provide the system information such as host name, the system architecture, the interfaces, etc. One important thing to be focused here is how you should declare an Ansible in your sorry how should you declare a play sorry how should you declare a variable in your playbook. So here are the typical acceptable variable names which you can include in your playbook. The example here is turntable, turn underscore table, turntable 01, turntable underscore 01. So these are the valid acceptable variable names which you can include in your Ansible playbook. Now let's look at the example of how to use a variable in our playbook. So basically, here is an example in which I have basically made a use of variable. But before that, let's have a quick recap about what is your Ansible playbook. A playbook is a collection of plays or the tasks to be performed on remote machine. In playbooks, the variables are handy in determining how tasks can be executed. Assigning a value to a variable in a playbook is quite easy and straightforward. By that means, I mean to say that it's very easy to declare a variable. And how can we declare a variable? In a vast declarative, right? And in this example, I basically declare a variable called as salutations, and in that variable, it is holding a value called hello guys. And then in my tags, I'm basically calling that variable. Remember, the variable should be declared before even you start writing your tags, right? Because you need, in your tags you are going to basically call those variables, and those variables will be holding the value. It's like kind of declaring the variable in shell scripting, Perl scripting, Python, C++, Java, and multiple programming languages. Same way you should follow here. Declare variable before even writing your tasks, right? Because the Ansible playbook gets executed in the sequence manner. Moving to the next example is a more how can you store the list in variable and how can you access them. So here is a simple playbook where I have the list variable called as students, and it is holding the name of students, and that variable I am going to call in my playbook. And how I am calling that, if you would have seen, it's two curly brackets, name of the variable, and now it's a list or an array, then I need to basically get one of the name printed, and I will call it by using the value. All right, and that's what I'm calling it. Students open bracket one bracket close, and it will basically pop me the name, the first value in the student list variable. Moving to the next important usage of variable is registering the variables. And there would be a scenario where you want to display the output of your command on the terminal, and Ansible has that solution for you. and that is registering the variables. In nutshell, you can store the output of your shell module used in Ansible playbook in variable using register module. So remember, how can you store the content of your shell module or a command module? Using a register module, and that is nothing but de- storing a content in a variable, right? So here is an example where I've been basically using the built-in shell module, and I'm printing it with the help of command called as echo, and I'm printing example of usage of variable, and I am basically storing the output of that echo command into a variable called as foo underscore result, and then I'm basically printing a message called hooray my first. And remember how I'm calling the variable: double curly brackets foo underscore result and curly brackets close. So that's the way you should basically refer the variable. Moving to another example, remember in our first slide we have written couple of tasks for the different packages to be installed, and there is a more cleaner way to basically write that playbook by using the variables, that is using the list variable. And that's what I have done by using the list variable called as packets, and I am basically calling those packets using a yum module to get installed on my machine. All right. Remember one more thing, if you have noticed in the tasks, I'm using a built-in variable called as inventory underscore hostname. Remember, like shell, Java, C++, every scripting language should have a built-in variables, and that's where we are using the Ansible. Makes your life easier by using a inbuilt Ansible variable. We are going to talk about commonly used inbuilt variables, or it's called as magic variables by Ansible. And here are a couple of the well-known magic or inbuilt variables. The first variable here is Ansible version. As the name suggests, it gives you a current version of an Ansible. Inventory host, as the name suggests, it will print you the current host being iterated in the playbook. Remember this, we have used this in our previous slide while printing what packages are installed on each and every node. Uh, Moving to the next is inventory directory. As the name suggests, it gives you the directory of the inventory where you have defined inventory of host. That is the path of your inventory file, right? Then the fourth variable here is inventory underscore file. This gives you the inventory source file name, as the name suggests. Then you have something called as Ansible user. How Ansible logs in to your machine and which user it has used, that you can get printed using Ansible underscore user. Then moving to the next is Ansible host. As the name suggests, it basically prints the IP and the name on where the Ansible is installed, right? And the last one is Ansible underscore become underscore user, right? There would be a scenario where you want your Ansible to be a user, yeah, and be a sudo or be a super user, and use that user to install the packages or do xyz work on the remote machine. And that's how you can get to know the name what Ansible has become after I have declared a becomes in my playbook. All right. I hope you got an gist of how to use handlers, how to use variables in your day-to-day playbook stuff. Thank you for watching this. I hope by now you would have got an idea of how to write handlers, how to use them, why we need handlers, and at the same time how to write variables, how to register variables in the playbook and use them in your day-to-day stuff. If you have liked the content of the video, kindly do comment and share with your friends. Until then, take care and bye bye. And do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel.